the Sports Psychology Hour. It's a radio show that airs every Sunday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. Central Time on 810WHB.com. Our shows are streamed live everywhere, so you can listen to the show live from 7 to 8 a.m. Central Time, or go to Winners Unlimited, which is my website. Click on the podcast tab, and you can hear dozens and dozens of podcasts I've done. We have close to, over 10 years of podcasts on my show. My radio show's been on the air for 34 years. And I love doing this show now because we do a show here on Facebook focusing on athletes and coaches and people. And tonight, we're going a little bit different direction because Mark Connor is an ex-boxer, correct? Ex-boxer, or are you still fighting?
No, unfortunately, the days of actually fighting are behind me now.
Well, that's probably a good thing, though. But he's an author, a very interesting individual. I want him to share his story with us tonight because he's got a message to share that I think everybody needs to hear. So, Mark, thanks for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Jakes. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
You're up in Minnesota. Has the snow thawed out there yet?
Yeah, it's just a little bit. It was almost completely all gone. It snowed a little bit a day or so ago, and it just kind of melted right away. And so hopefully it's going to stay that way. It's been, I think it's in the maybe upper 30s today, but a couple of days it'll be in the 50s, so it'll be okay.
Well, it's April, so here in Kansas City, it's the weather starts to change. St. Patrick's Day is when it changes. It starts to get halfway decent, then it gets bad, then it gets decent. But anyway, I'm ready to hit the golf course as much as I can now, and that it's finally warm enough. So thanks for joining us. So tell us a little bit about your background, Mark. You've got a very intriguing background.
Yeah, so I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota. I say early on in the book, I say I'm the product of a mixed marriage, which is to say my dad grew up across the street from St. Columba Parish in St. Paul in the Midway District, and my mom was from the Holy Rosary Parish in South Minneapolis, which makes me product of a mixed marriage because it's St. Paul and Minneapolis. But
that's an interesting way of putting that. I like that.
Yeah, I grew up as a Catholic, going to Catholic schools and everything, and I grew up in the greater east side of St. Paul, in a pretty middle class neighborhood. But the east side of St. Paul has always been kind of tough, and has the reputation in the Twin Cities. And I had a pretty decent life. My parents were married. I had a brother that just about 13 days less than a year older than I am, so they call us Irish twins. But I grew up with the Catholic culture around me because St. Paul is kind of traditionally it's had quite a it's named St. Paul, so it's got a kind of a Catholic history to it, and that influenced me quite a bit. Not something that was influenced me as something that was thought about all the time, but it was something that was just always there, present. And when I was around 10 years old, so I had already played, starting with t-ball, going into baseball, hockey, and had just started football. But I really got interested in boxing, and I was just begging my dad to take me to a boxing gym. And he finally relented and took me to a gym.
Excuse me, let me ask you a question. What got you interested in boxing? Because that's not something everybody gets involved in. Baseball, basketball, soccer, that type of football, but boxing, a lot of people don't get into that. What intrigued you about it?
When I talk about this, I explain it very specifically. I wanted to be someone that was known and celebrated, right? And so I always had the dreams that kids had. Like I had a dream of being an actor. I had a dream of being a rock and roll star or something like that. And I also back in the mid 70s to the mid 80s on the network TV, there were always those great sports shows on the weekends, and they showed boxing a lot. There was always a fight on Saturday or Sunday, or maybe both days. And then there were also there was bodybuilding that I used to see. And so I used to Dr. Franco Colombo. My mother bought me the book Weight Training for Young Athletes. and used to look at it and think maybe that's what I wanted to be, be a bodybuilder. But I started seeing boxing, and I was really impressed with the conditioning of the athletes and how they kind of had those kind of well-defined muscles and everything that bodybuilders did, but they were doing something different. And um, the aesthetic beauty of the way the fighters moved and the way, and just the contrast of the gloves with to the way they're and the trunks and everything, just the whole thing was kind of artistically speaking, it was just something that just really intrigued me and kind of hypnotized me. And it was boxing was starting to become really popular in the late 70s and early 80s. And the oh, it was Sugar Ray Leonard was just becoming world champion. He was an Olympic gold medalist, and Muhammad Ali was around the time when he was first retiring and everything. And so that was something that really kind of drew me into it. And my father always would he and my mother would always like to go to movies. And so my family went to movies a lot. And I remember when the movie Rocky came out, and my brother really wanted to see it. And I remember for some reason thinking it looked stupid. And we actually never saw that movie as a family, but then we ended up going to see Rocky 2. And I always thought, if I saw the first one and I saw where he lost in the title shot, I don't know if I would have wanted to be a boxer, but I saw him win that kind of was one of the things that influenced me too.
Especially as badly as he got beat up.
Yeah, yeah. And it just really, I mean, watching those guys, the scenes of them training, both him and Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed, the way that they train, the way they hone their muscles and everything, and it's an individual sport, and so the one fighter is the one that gets celebrated, and it just was something that really attracted me. And I didn't want to be a tough guy and beat everyone else up or try to, bully people or anything like that at all. But people, right when I started boxing, I was 5th grade, 10 years old, and I was smaller than most of the girls in my class, and so some of the tougher guys wanted to fight me, and so I had 6 fights my first year boxing. But
in 5th grade,
yeah, and then my but on the playground I had 10 fights. So it was. So
you were in the principal's office a lot.
I was. In fact, my mother would ground me for 1 week from boxing if I got into a fight, and my original coach, and God rest his soul, three of the real primary coaches I had are all dead now. 2 guys that were really instrumental in my life in boxing are still alive. One of them was one of the 4 mentioned in the first poem in my book called "The Perfect Metaphor." His name is Bobby Zamora. The other guy is Jay Pelzer, who brought his nephew Mike Yevgen in the early 90s to the IBO, International Boxing Organization, Junior Welterweight Champion of the World. He's 93 now, 94. And he's one of the elders of Twin Cities boxing. So I'm glad to see guys like that still alive. But my coach Emmett Yanez, he was a really short Mexican guy. He ran a place called the Mexican American Boxing Club, and he just looked at me and said, "Oh, kid, you're grounded again." It just you got to stop doing that. But eventually, I kind of got accepted a little more, and kids didn't really want to fight me as much after that. But occasionally,
so you got into your share of trouble. Sounds like from boxing on the playground, things like that.
A little bit, but honest to God, truth. My brother, who's a senior public defender in Ramsey County in St. Paul, he very brilliant guy. He in our early adulthood, he was teasing me one time, saying, you didn't even know it. You're so out of it. You didn't even know it. But mom and dad tricked you into reading, because I hated to read. I hated school and everything. In 5th grade, and my parents bought me a subscription to the Ring magazine for Christmas, and then I started reading. And my dad used to tell the story to people that, yeah, my son, we couldn't ever get him to read. He had trouble learning to read, and he ended up boxing, got him a subscription to Ring magazine. He ended up getting an English degree and becoming a writer. So
where did it take you after high school?
Well, I got as far as I was Upper Midwest Golden Gloves champion, and I hadn't won the National Golden Gloves that year, but I having gotten that far, I was able to go a couple of days after high school. My dad and I flew to Colorado, and I checked into the Olympic Training Center and in Colorado Springs, and tried out for the preliminary Pan American Games.
You and I read in your bio, you and I were actually probably there at the same time, because I was the team psychologist for U.S. Cycling, and I was out in the Springs a lot from 82 until 88. So we might have been there at the. And I remember a lot of the boxers would come to the cafeteria a lot.
Yeah, we probably were. So the thing is, I remember. So my dad said to me after I lost, there was a thing going on. So that original coach I had, Emmett Yanez, he had to take care of his wife who was dying of. She had a stroke, and she was just dying of, Alzheimer's and that, and took care of her the next few years. And we had lost our gym, the Mexican American Boxing Club, and had gone and merged with the Rice Street Gym, and they were in a junior high school, and they closed during the summer, and I was having trouble finding places to work out when I was training for to go to the training center. And so when I fought the guy I fought, I thought I won the fight, but I couldn't complain about the decision because I just didn't do enough. And that's the first time I ever fought in that altitude. I just wasn't in the shape that I had to be in. And my dad said to me afterwards, he said, "Look, I'm going to let you stay here. I'm going home because this is the greatest place you can be at the Olympic Training Center." And I actually worked out that whole week and everything, and went running and stuff. But I kind of had this, psychologically speaking, in my mind, I kind of had this thing that, you got to go to college, and you can't just like take the next year off and try to get a national title or something, try and get to that level. And so I started to, I officially quit boxing, but then before the end of the year was up, I went back into it. And I lost. I didn't make it to the Upper Midwest Golden Gloves. I didn't make it through the Upper Midwest Golden Gloves to the Nationals the next year. And so I thought my coach Bobby Zamora was kind of taking over for Emmett as he took care of his wife. And he said, "Take a year off, lift weights and stuff, just go to school and then come back and turn professional." And I just had this idea that I had to at least win a national title, or at least get some international fights on that level before turning professional. And looking back on it, I really think I should have turned professional somewhere between the ages of 18 and 20, 22 or 23. Because I think I could have had a good career, whether I would have been challenging for a title or not, and gotten it out of my system. So I still kind of held on to it over the years. And even though I pursued being a writer and did other jobs, I got my college degree from the University of Minnesota. I still kind of held on to it. And so I still went to the gym to help out. And I still trained with guys who were professionals and did a lot of sparring with them and everything like that.
Let me ask you a question from a confidence perspective. How did you develop self-confidence as a boxer? What did that do for you, positively or negatively? I mean, getting beat. I mean, you said Rocky was a big influence for you.
Yeah.
Movie. Mine were Ghostbusters and Blazing Saddles and Animal House, so they're a little different. But what did, from a confidence perspective, how did boxing help you with your self-confidence? Because I'm picking up that obviously it played a role for you.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I'd do half the things I do in my life if I hadn't boxed. I don't believe I'd be able to walk in a room, approach people, to just have the confidence to talk to people the way that I do if I hadn't been a boxer. It's something, I don't know if I can fully describe it, but after I learned how to box, I mean, I remember, the next year in gym class, that's when they used to have the presidential
Fitness award.
Right. And they'd have us do these different exercises and stuff. And I remember, like, the one day they had us learn how to jump rope. And the girls could jump rope, but I could jump rope better than them. And all these boys couldn't. They're amazed that I could jump rope. And I was able to be the fastest kid, running the the distance around the school and everything like that, where I used to be really slow. And the book I wrote.
Tell us about your book.
Okay, yeah, it's about time. Millions of copies sold for that. It can actually be gotten at the best way to get it is at boxersandwritersmagazine.com/books, and that takes you to Amazon and Lulu to order it. But any rate, it's an autobiography that reads like a novel and has 20 poems running through it. And I wrote it in it was my way of dealing with losing my father on September 30th of 2019. And we went through the following year, 2020, when the whole world seemed to be blowing up. And I just kind of mourned for that whole period of time. And then at the end of 2020, as Christmas is coming up, I said, this coming year, I'm going to do something that my dad would be really happy with. And between for about February 9th and the 29th of March, I think in 2021, I wrote it. It took me a while to get it published, but I wrote the book. Now I'm starting to give you the details of the book. I'm trying to remember what I was saying right before you said, tell me about the book.
Why did you write your book? What was the purpose of it? What was the incentive and motivation to do it?
Well, the one thing is, as I looked at my father dying, I watched him dying in the hospital bed. He'd had a heart attack and was on life support for 10 days. And I was praying over him with my mom, and I'm just thinking, he's going to be gone, and I'm not ready for him to be gone. And he never saw me get married, have children. He never saw me publish a book. And we'd even had an argument about it roughly 10 years earlier. And the argument was basically, why haven't you published a book yet? You shouldn't be able to publish a number of them by this point in time. I reached 40 years old, and I just had to get it written. And I can share that actual story with you. I get to that point here. So it's right about. I gotta get to that point, but any rate, so that's really what it was about. And so I wrote it really to honor my father, but also to kind of tell my story and the things I've been going through. And I've had I wrote it as to kind of to express the values of love, family, and life, and to be encouraging to people and to give people hope. Ultimately, is the reason that I wrote it and what I'm hoping to accomplish as far as the message is concerned.
So watching your father pass away obviously inspired you a great deal to share something. What's the big message from your book that you wanted to express and share with people?
Well, basically, it's about doing things in your life now. Not putting things off, not procrastinating everything, and just making sure to value every day and to value the people that are around you, especially family. And it's also about family, and specifically about the traditional family of mother and father together with children, and the importance of fatherhood. Because what I realized as my father died, and I realized it anyway, I even thought about it for years leading up to when he did die, how much of a profound impact he had on me in my life.
And I'm guessing still has on you.
He does. I'm like, I would say that there are times in my life when he was really adamant about not letting me do something, or not letting me go hang out with some kids or something like that. That, looking back on it, actually kept me out of some really serious trouble. And my thought as I was growing up, was that, man, he's just too overbearing sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But looking back on it, it's really easy to realize how he was um, he was really right all the time, and
But you,
how
excuse me, but you didn't realize it at that time.
no, no,
After you've gone through all this, and after he's gone, that's when now you realize it.
absolutely, absolutely. But I actually realized it as an adult. I mean, as an adult while he was alive. I mean, one time I said to him, uh, you know, uh, I said, Dad, uh, you're always right, man. The things I'm looking at, just think about the other day about all the things. You've always been right. And he says to me, he just looked at me and laughed and said, yeah, doesn't that suck? He says, I said, doesn't that just drive you crazy? I said, no, actually, it doesn't. I mean,
Was that
because
hard? Was that hard to tell him that?
no, not at all. Actually, we got so by at the end of my 20s, like when I was 27, 28, we really were kind of at odds with each other and we were fighting with each other a lot. Um, and then by the following summer is when we started to kind of get along together more. And when I was in my mid 30s, he told me that I can share this portion with you that book of the book too. Where he said that he wanted to spend time with me, and he persuaded me to end up having breakfast with him once a week, and we did that for the last 15 or so years of his life, and that was just an incredible decision to make. But so here's the point. So it's on page 10, great, really, or no, I'm sorry, page uh, 13, uh, 12, 13, right close to the end of the chapter 1. Um, where I have that little story with my dad. Um, so I just kind of had this really tumultuous conversation with a beautiful young lady who had just walked out of my car and I knew was not going to talk to me again. And I said, as I say, I was heartbroken. After our final conversation, I felt literally that I'd been beaten up. No, though no one ever laid a hand on me. We were almost halfway around together, but now we were a world apart. On Sunday, March 31, waking up on my couch, I wrote the next poem, Life's So Simple. As if to pray, you start today in meditation on your bicycle wheel, the separate spokes united in the center. You want me to be blunt, you say. I want to be direct, but fear I'll frighten you away. The final The final action is the original intention. This statement is authentically true, not just my invention. My responsibility is to you a comfort for my rest, a respect in my behavior, helping you to be your best. You can push me away, invite me to stay, or walk with me today, but we met for a reason to teach each other and learn. Such a fact comes not from acts, but is a grace we did not earn. Demons distract, demons lie, and demons discourage us from our destiny till we die. Friends encourage, friends assist, and friends persist with love on which we rely. Your guardian angel already talked to mine. Together, they have watched us share laughter and argue to the point of crying. You know they're sent by God who really does exist and is not a tyrant or a terrorist. Rather, he is love, family, life, held in common at the core. You and I, specific spokes, united in the center, spinning round from place to place, and nothing more. There were some other poems I put together qualifying for appropriate inclusion in this book. I've always held myself, of course, to the highest of standards, never believing any of these poems ready for an attempt at publication. So I never tried, which is why I so embarrassingly titled the story, It's About Time. Dad challenged me once, as far back, I believe, as 2012, asking me why by the age of 40 I hadn't published at least one book. If I really was a writer, as I asserted myself to be, I should have been able to publish at least 5 novels or other books by then. I told him to lay off, that there were legitimate reasons for current incompletion, and that literary success was on its way. But that was all an excuse. The real reason was a lie in my heart that my work was going to be great. I just needed time to concentrate, which is always delayed right now for the job or the friend in trouble or another excuse which justified not trying. The truth is, I was scared, so I never dared. If this book, which can fall flat in its face, is never presented to the public, I'll never know if you, the reader, recognize my talent. If it does, in fact, fall flat in its face, at least metaphorically, I fall flat on mine. However, so what? It's about time.
Well, very intriguing, and you are full of incredible insight, I think, into life. That's what I picked up from that. You shared so much right there, and obviously your book is. I'm sure the lessons in there that you've learned about life that you can share with other people are going to help a lot of people out, Mark. I mean, this is very intriguing, and it sounds to me the lessons you learned from your dad and your mom have stayed with you and helped you get this book out. I mean, I think it's great, and obviously to go from boxing to becoming a writer, not many people do that, and I admire you for that because when you're a boxer, you get beat up a lot, and you beat people up a lot, and to have the wherewithal and the integrity to put all this together afterwards, I think it's a tremendous story to share with people.
Well, I appreciate that very much. Really
So let
do.
me ask you, we got to wrap things up for tonight, but people want to get a hold of your book, share the title, where they can get it, tell people about, because I think there's a lot of information in here people would like.
Okay, it's about time. Parenthetically, millions of copies sold for Dad. It's called It's About Time, millions of copies sold for Dad. And it is available. The best way is to go to my website, boxersandwritersmagazine.com/books. That's the books page. But clicking onto that allows you to get it from Amazon. Allows you to get it from there's another distributor called Lulu, Lulu, but Amazon, Lulu, and on Amazon you can also get it in the ebook form.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight with us and sharing your story and just how you got to this point. And you've got a message to share with people, and it's a very good one. And I think a lot of young people, especially, can pick up on that from what you've gone through and how you've turned into the person you are. So I can't thank you enough. If people want to reach you, Mark, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, the boxersandwritersmagazine.com is there. I've got a Substack called Irish Catholic Punch Drunk in St. Paul, and that's I never remember the actual address for it, but you can just type that into Substack, and then also you can see me on Instagram or on Facebook. I'm just just by the regular name Mark Connor.
Well,
and yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. You've got a great story to share, and I know a lot of people are going to pick up a lot from you on this. So I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you. God bless you. I really appreciate it. And the time went by too fast.
Yeah, these interviews always do. It's just like I start and we're done. But thank you so much. If you liked our show tonight, check out my website, winnersunlimited.com, and click on the podcast tab. You can find dozens and dozens of podcasts on there. My radio shows, we have close to 10 years of radio shows on there. I've been on the air for 34 years. My radio show is on 810whb.com every Sunday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. Central Time. The shows are everywhere on all the podcast apps as well as my website. If you want to get a hold of me, my office number is 816-561-5556. My email is drj@winnersunlimited.com. Mark Connor, my friend, thanks for joining us tonight. You take care of yourself.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.